What's up, everybody? John hearing both sides of the conversation. Today, we are in San Francisco at LinkedIn. We are taking over the building. Dreamkeeper Initiative. Today is a powerful event. It's an economic parity conversation that's happening on with Director Davis and a number of other great panelists today. Communities here, organizations here. We're going to talk about how we bring this money and how do we build up our communities. Great event. Again, shout out to LinkedIn. We in the space. You're going to see a lot of people as we move around today and check out some of the people that's from community that's here to represent.
I've had the honor of working with Director Davis and the Human Rights Commission and many of the organizations represented in the space today, and I gotta say it's one of the best parts of my job because you all are actually doing the work, right? You all are actually moving the needle and pushing conversations and making change happen. So it just feels good to play a small role in all the work that you all do. So it's my distinct honor to welcome you all here today. I hope that we can connect. There'll be plenty of opportunities for us to have some moments of networking. We'll have headshots available. We'll have a little, after event, I don't want to call it after party per se. We're going to have a little get together up on the rooftop a little bit later today. So I hope you all enjoy. Please connect with me, and I hope you all have a wonderful time. All right, thank you so much for being here.
Is that we have the resources to get rid of it, right? So much of what Dr. King was doing toward the end of his life was not celebrated when he was doing it. He was challenging the power structures. He was challenging the way that we were moving forward. He was thinking about equity in a way that now we name it, but that it wasn't named at that point in time, and that he really was launching this war on poverty. And so we have so many resources in San Francisco specifically. Between President Walton and Mayor Breed, there's been a tremendous allocation of resources specifically for minority communities, but for the Black community through the Dreamkeeper Initiative, through opportunities for all with paid internships, with just ongoing support and at least the calling out of the disparities. And so today we really want to talk about what are the pathways to parity? If we know that disparities exist and we have the resources to address them, why do we continue to see the same things happening? Even in a town like San Francisco, where less than 6% of the population is Black, but yet and still we see the numbers of folks incarcerated are still the majority. We see that 40% of the homeless population is Black. We see that the suspensions in our school districts are 30% Black. The expulsions in our school district are 30% Black. So if in a town with less than 6% and with resources we can't make the difference or the impact, then that doesn't leave much hope for other folks. But I want to live in a space where Dr. King talked about that we can talk about and think about our finite disappointments, but we must continue to live in infinite hope. We have to continue to be hopeful. So today is not just about being hopeful, it is about how we actualize that hope. How do we move beyond the dream? How do we move beyond hope to actually implementing some of the things that we want to see happen? So I first and foremost want to thank our thought partners and partners in launching this, the folks from New School. I see you this morning, Henry Ramos from the New School. So give it up for New School. Henry Ramos, Tina, Sarita, all the folks that have been partnering with us in this. And then as well, you can look through the program, you'll see all of the partners that we have coming up. So as I get ready to go through the points, and want to thank again Henry for helping us draft those, and Dr. Sy and Brittany who've helped us in that way. I also want to bring into the room the voice of James Baldwin as we talk about some of these things. One of the things that James Baldwin said is, anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. And I think the city and county of San Francisco can bear witness to the fact that it is extremely expensive to not take care of everyone, right? To not have a pathway to parity where folks can actually be self-sufficient and have economic mobility. And so I just want us to think about as we go through this, it costs too much, or when we challenge the idea and notion of guaranteed income or jobs guaranteed or giving people what they need to be housed, that when we make those challenges, it actually costs us more money to not do some of that. So it is expensive. The other thing that he said that is the point of today is that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. So today we face the fact that we have inequities, that we have disparities, and that we want to change them. And so this is the beginning of that conversation, but hopefully more than a conversation, the beginning of action and implementation.
Network, which now has 40 chapters in 4 countries and all of that. The reason that I use all of those kind of descriptors is not to kind of run down the long list of things I do in a day, but it's to say that the center of my work is trying to always figure out how we make our communities powerful. And this is a different concept, I think, than just empowerment, which is often what we talk about. When we talk about communities of color, when we talk about disadvantaged or marginalized communities, we talk about empowerment. And empowerment really means self-esteem. It means feeling good about yourself in the conditions that you're living in right now. But power is actually something very different. Power is about the ability to make the
We
rules.
still bring wealth to this country. We are wealth-building people, but usually it's somebody else's wealth. But we have to garner that and understand what that is and redefine. Because if we redefine it, then they no longer have the strings. So we have to rethink. We also have to consider the environment. If we're going to be wealthy, let's consider how we're going to build our wealth. It cannot be the same way. It's not sustainable. We look at Jackson, Mississippi. Who gets hurt? Look at Florida. Look at Puerto Rico. Who gets hurt from this climate and this environment? So we have to rethink wealth and how we build it and what it looks like, and understand we're not coming from nowhere. We have a base of wealth. Let's build on that.
Amen.
Thoughts? Or is there anything that you're thinking about that you want to bring from the past in the future, or are you starting all over?
No, I would bring hustle and motivation from the past into the future, because all that our backbones were built on from slavery. Even I have a single mother who raised 3 kids, so I watched her motivation and hustle. She'll raise all of us, raise us as good as she can, and she did a beautiful job.
That's right.
So,
That's right. That's right.
And also as a business owner for myself, having my own business, I have those days where I just want to give up on everything because it's not going as well as I want to. I'm not making the money that I want to, but I know that in life there's trials and tribulations. So if I want to succeed in life, I got to keep on going, keep on moving forward and maintain my goals.
Like resiliency and by any means necessary attitude. So, and you see it championed in certain people today. I mean, but if you look back, like Harriet Tubman said, it wasn't enough to get free. Like, let me go back an additional 19 times, to the countless people who figured out how to read when it was against the law. Like, I don't know if I was that strong, but I try to channel it as much as I can today, and you'll see it with people like LeBron James. It's not good enough to be an amazing athlete. Let me start an academy to help with the kids who come from where I come from. Let me hire my friends and do that work. And we see it in the local politics and within San Francisco. I don't think me or Legia or many of the youth would be in here if it wasn't for, people like Director Davis, after the gentlemen were killed in 2015 in that car, and said, let's start a program where they can work during the summer, be able to climb the economic mobility ladder. And then that obviously went on and transformed into what we see today as opportunities for all, and just trying to carry that as I go on with my work. It's not just enough to build a project or real estate development in a low-income neighborhood. How many contractors can we bring on? Can we make sure that partners are, people who represent that community, so on and so forth. So that resiliency and by any means necessary attitude being challenged, where I try to focus on and bring forward.
couldn't get there from work, they moved it to a Saturday morning breakfast. Made common sense. Because I can't keep telling the parents, hey, show up and be engaged, but then it's at 7 o'clock, you can't get there. So again, the goals and objectives have to be separated. And then third and finally, when we talk about how do we center the community and what's the learning experience of the community, have the conversations on the front end to listen to the community before you make your plan. Too many times there are leaders that seem to forget that you have to lead people, right? You can't just write up a plan and just hope it's going to work out in that way. You got to actually build this out and be detailed around this. And so we did heavy listening sessions, 2, 3, 4 hours to really map out what was going on. And then usually at that point, people start to break down the nuances of what have to happen there. So again, realize your community does not have a defined line. Realize that you have goals and objectives and then work backwards from that. Separate your goals and objectives. And then be intentional of the conversation on the front end so that you can actually make a plan that's intentional on the back end.
I would be brief. I was asked to say a few words about guaranteed income, universal basic income, which I know is a part of the conversation and that's happening here as part of this conference. I will say, first of all, that I'm really grateful to be here at LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is one of the few tech companies where I'm pretty sure I know what they do. Sometimes I'm asked to speak at Salesforce or something. I'm still not exactly sure what Salesforce does, but they keep getting more and bigger buildings. But LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure I know what they do. And I'm really grateful that they are having this space. Simple and common sense ideas are the most powerful and transformational ones. So there was an obvious problem that all of us understand, which is how do I connect with people who may have opportunities for me? How do I find people who may have the skills and experiences that I need for my company? How do I build a network? And LinkedIn said, well, how about we just create a resume that you put online and have ways that you can search through that, ways that you can connect from that. And because of that, they have completely transformed the way that we interact with each other.
Hi, my name is Legia Smith. I was one of the panelists today at the Economics Rights Summit. I am the CEO of JS Sweets, my business where I make all types of sweet treats for you to eat on. And today's event, it was awesome. Started off with a cake, and I hope everybody enjoys it and watches along on YouTube.
Hey, how you doing? This is Derek Brown, Senior Director of the Leo T. McCarthy Center at the great University of San Francisco. It's an amazing opportunity and an honor to be here today. We have city leaders, community partners, business leaders, a little bit of everything, have an amazing conversation, pathways to parity. So again, it's an amazing opportunity to be here and really enjoy myself.
Because everything from here is going to be rooted in that. Find your why. Now, the reason why that's so important for conversations like this is because you're going to get distracted with a lot of noise. When you're trying to fight for justice, when you're trying to make sure you focus on equity, when you talk about human rights, there's going to be a lot of things that come at your way. So just talk to me for a second. You hear human rights. What does that even mean? What's human rights? What did I say upstairs? You have to determine two things when you're trying to make your plan.
It's a STEAM panel who will talk about strategies toward moving toward financial inclusivity and through a social justice lens. So with that, I will, to my far left, I'm going to introduce Omar Butler, who serves as the CEO of New Door Ventures. We have Junta Badashadia, who is the Executive Vice President at the Insight Center for Community Development, Community Economic Development. That's right. We have Jose Cisneros, who is our Treasurer for the City and County of San Francisco. And then finally, Joaquin Torres, who is the Assessor Recorder for the City and County of San Francisco. And so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about some strategies and how we're starting to operationalize economic inclusivity through not only a social justice lens, but a racial equity lens. And I think before getting into that conversation, or a way to start that conversation, it's important to understand history. And it's important to understand the context and the background. So I want to turn to Junta from the Insight Center.
It's there. The ingenuity is there. The creativity is there. The joy is there, right? And it's about leveraging that. And so one of the things that came to mind for me is I wanted to share this statistic. So we do this thing called the Family Needs Calculator at the Insight Center, which looks at the real cost of how much it costs to live in each county in California. So what is the market rate housing? What is the actual cost of food? What is the actual cost of gas? All of that, right? Childcare. And so in San Francisco, for a family that has 2 adults, an infant and a preschooler, you have to make $164,000 a year to make ends meet. That's just your basic needs. $164,000. The average income of a black man in San Francisco is $66K. That's a black woman. $66K. Black men, it's $78. White men, it's $189,000. White women, it's $135. Latinx men, $119. Top 5 jobs for Latinx women, it's all service and domestic work, right? And the only reason why it's a little bit higher for black women is one of the top jobs for black women in San Francisco is firefighter, which pays $145,000 a year. Public sector jobs for black women did a lot of things, right? So childcare is actually the biggest expense in San Francisco County. It is above housing.
Wow.
And I think there's been a lack of investment in what we call public goods, right? The good things that just make the public work, libraries.
It's just to hype the Dreamkeeper because I find the name so powerful. Representation matters. When you see yourself reflected in a positive light, you see your skin color and your culture reflected in a positive light, wherever it is in print, in movie media, in social media, in community spaces. But I think also speaking to people's dreams and allowing people to remember that they should be dreaming on an individual basis, that the time and care and presence.
Your response was in question to your conversation about why the switch from individual to more of a group. And I think it's actually exactly what you said, John. It's like people are very clear, and to your point, I'm sorry that this is so triggering, and I know that it is. Communities are tired of talking about this. The thought of a task force is exhausting. Like, why are you kidding me? Like, why do we have to do this? But I think there's such a recognition that it's so pervasive and so systematic. To your point, like coming back in, if you even went away and got a degree and came back in, like how are you still going to be situated? That people want to see the systems change. Yes, you want it for you now, but you also want it for the next generation. Whenever we talk with communities, it's the long-term look as well as the current now. So it's almost twofold. It's like, and I just want to raise up, like anything we raise for the work we do, we give directly to the communities we work with because of that exact thing you're saying. This isn't about, we're just volunteering on this work, honestly, because it is about infusing back those communities. So I hear you. But it's not only about infusing the communities now. I think the call for a more like group kind of look is how do we repair and undo these systems? Because these systems are, no matter what you do, going to keep it the same.
Yep.
I'm so mad because I'm new to recognizing how many millions and millions and millions of dollars are going to, first of all, I love this woman on the end, so not you, but going to white people. Are you trying to make me be on that? Yeah. Go ahead. No, I'm getting in trouble because I want to talk about somebody. No, but in the community in which I live, there's an arts council, so I'm not naming the community. And they got millions of dollars to help the low-income community where they are, right? There's 100 units, it's low-income community. They got millions of dollars. And then what they did is they got some of those people that live in the low-income community, paid them a teeny little bit to figure out who to give it out to, and gave them so many limitations. They said, you can't give it to any single individual or organization. I'm putting in proposals, get nothing back. So here's my question, and maybe some of y'all can talk to me after. I want to know, how do I get set up to be one of those foundations where they give me the check and I give it out? Because I'm one of them people that everybody calls me when they don't have food, when they don't have housing. Yes, I'm the one that has people, figuring out the cars and the buses and this and that, You know, back in the day, I got a master's degree. I'm a full ride scholar. I'll jump through the hoops, but only because I want to change the hoops. Right. Yeah. I want to change what you got to do to get your check.
Good girl.
So that's what I want to know. I really want to know that, and I want people to talk to me because I'll put in 10 more years.
Cool, but if somebody doesn't know it, how are they going to learn it? Yeah. So as we think about what are we building in a human rights economy, I should have the right to learn the same thing that somebody that has a whole bunch of money learns in their house. And so how are we building the education that says it should not matter? I literally have seen 5-year-olds learn about architecture and learn about investment banking and venture capital, and they know from 6, not that they want to do that, they know who to call to do that. Right. So that's the piece around cultural wealth.
John Henry, excited. This whole day has been plentiful of information, a very joyous event. Thanks to the Dreamkeeper Initiative. Thanks to the amazing folks that came through, brought community together. Thanks to LinkedIn for sponsoring the space, bringing community from the community into their space to have powerful conversations, how we impact community, how do we economically move our communities forward. We talked about so many different disparities, so many different economical issues that we face, and we're working together to come up with solutions to build power in our community. Great guests today, a number of great panelists. So again, just excited. I want to say thank you to our Mayor, London Breed. Thank you to the Board President, Siobhan Walton, and to our amazing Dr. Cheryl Davis for the amazing work that she's doing, and Dr. Sy for putting together these type of events that impact our community organizations, getting the information, coming together in these think tanks to bring our communities together and move them forward. Amazing event. At the end of this day, you get to see an amazing view on the bay. Again, on the top of the LinkedIn, checking out everything that's taking place. Both sides of the conversation, y'all know what it is. We are here to help our community get the education, awareness, and provide the information so you can see what's going on, some phenomenal things going on in our community. And again, you see the amazing people here that have been putting in the work, moving our communities forward. So again, to the Dreamkeeper Initiative, to all the folks behind the scenes that's doing the work in the community, it takes us all. But we're building, y'all. Dreamkeepers, all power to the